Well, to hear those words, "you have diabetes," can be terrifying. Last year alone, around 2 million children and adults in this country were given just that diagnosis. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control. And while diabetes has the potential to be debilitating and even deadly, the tools and ability to manage the disease are improving, and researchers are coming closer to a cure. November, as you might know, is National Diabetes Awareness Month, and today we are continuing our Living with Diabetes series, and we're taking an in-depth look at the strides that are being made to find a cure. So here to help us out with the conversation this morning is Cindy Smart, who has battled the disease for 27 years, and Bob Perlman, President and CEO of the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation. Good morning to the both of you. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
Well, you know what, Cindy, I do want to start with you. How old were you when you found out you had diabetes, and what did you have to do to manage it?
I was 16. I was completely healthy up until that point.
You were 16?
16 years old. I had never been sick. And to hear them say, you know, your sugar's 680, you have to go to the hospital tonight, now, was frightening. I mean, for one, I was 16, teenager. You're having enough trouble. But then to be diagnosed with a disease that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you have to pay attention to everything.
And it's interesting, one of the things that we were talking a little bit about off camera is you were saying that you woke up one morning and you just literally could not even get dressed to go to school, and you got out of the shower and just lay there right on the floor. And that's kind of when your parents must have said, ding, 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 something's going on with this young girl here.
My dad said, time for you to go to the doctor, and my mom came in and actually dressed me and drove me to the doctor.
Wow, and that's 16, and here we are 27 years later, and I know we talk about the difficulty of managing it day to day, but then you add to that the fact that you have children, and that you really are, just like a lot of our viewers, trying to balance it all. Talk to me a little bit about that.
My daughters were caretakers for their own mom. They called 911 on occasions. If they went through the list that was on the refrigerator and no one answered the phone, they would have to call 911. Or go to my neighbors and ask them to help me. I've come out of a low blood sugar coma. Even though you're awake, you're really not there. And paramedics are in the house, and I know it's because my daughters called. I know it's because they saved me.
That's interesting, and you also talk about the fact that you were in the car at one point, and the girls were like, okay, we know something's not right with mom right now.
When your sugar's low, you don't know it, but everybody else does. And when it's high, you know it, no one else knows. So I would be driving, and the girls would say, we're nowhere near Pop-Pop's house. Something's not right with mommy. And when they would talk to me, I wouldn't answer the way I was supposed to. You become a little bit different when your sugar's low. And they would know.
They would know
we have a problem.
That something was...
From their car seats, yes. We have Houston, we have a problem. It was
Houston,
bad.
we have a problem. Well, Bob, you know, you had somewhat of the answer, which is why we're bringing you into the conversation here, because I want to find out how the Diabetes Research Institute is helping people like Cindy.
Diabetes Research Institute is committed to finding a cure for this disease. The technology that we've developed and we pioneered was something called islet cell transplants. The islets are the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. In a person with type 1 or juvenile diabetes, these cells are wiped out by the immune system, and what we do is replace those cells, and we can return people to normal glycemic control, and they can come back and have their life again.
And what's unique about your organization is that it was created by families, and it really is, and I know that you've got the person who is living with diabetes, but it affects everybody in the family, does it not?
It does. It absolutely does. And what we're doing is giving people like Cindy the opportunity to resume a normal life, and it changes every dynamic in their life because this disease is unrelenting. It goes on day and night. There are needs for people without insulin secretion to test their blood multiple times a day, dozens of times a day, and to inject insulin on a constant basis in order to keep that balance.
You know, I think a lot of people who are looking at this might say, oh, but that's a lot. And it is, but it's not a death sentence. We want to make sure we make that clear to viewers as well.
No, it's not a death sentence, and you can come back to a normal life. We're striving right now in order to try to find ways to get supply of cells that can be used for this transplant. Right now, we're dependent on cadaver donors, and that's not going to do the job. Secondly, we need to find a way to trick the immune system or to re-educate the immune system not to attack these cells. so that people can go on living with it for the rest of their lives.
And Cindy, I know you participated in a clinical trial at the Diabetes Research Institute. Tell me what you went through, how that was, and how it's changed your life today.
Diabetes Research Institute gave me my life. As an adult, I have never not been on insulin, checking my sugar 30 to 40 times a day, and now I have a brand new life. I function, my kids are not babysitters, they're resilient, they bounce back, thankfully. I have a life. I actually have a life where it's not micromanaged and down to every minute of every day. It's an amazing change.
It's so good to see that, and so good to see you doing so well. I want to ask you a little bit more about that trial, though, Bob. Is that something that's available to the general public or to anybody who has diabetes?
Unfortunately, not at this point.
It's not. Okay.
It's still in the experimental stage, and we're having more and more success as time goes on, and our goal is to make this available on a general basis to everyone.
I have to tell you, I was so surprised to read the statistic that there are something like 26 million people out there who are living with diabetes every day. And as somebody who is living with diabetes, I think this is a great way to end it, Cindy. What would your message be? What would you say to other people out there who may be watching and thinking, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore, and maybe even want to just say, done?
You have to have a really good support team, depend on your family and your friends and modern technology. Take advantage of everything that's out there, and really, you have to rely on your support team. As independent as you are, there were times where I've had family come over, friends and neighbors, my daughters. Everyone is there to help support you.
Well, I want to give those girls a high five, because they helped Mom out. That's wonderful.
I'm very blessed. I'm lucky.
Absolutely, and we are lucky to have you stop by our studios this morning to talk about living with diabetes. And Bob, always good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by as well.
Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. And if you want more information on the Diabetes Research Institute, the clinical trials, or how you can help find a cure, head to diabetesresearch.org and make sure you keep watching our Living with Diabetes series for more useful information.